Hello and welcome. You're listening to Start Again with Shauna Lee, the place where you will be reminded that it's never too late and you're never too old to do the damn thing. So stick around if you're ready to vibe higher and be inspired to chase your dreams. Together, we will uncover your soul's truest desires. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another fun episode. Today, I'm introducing you to Alanna Banks, who is board certified in hypnosis, NLP, and the process of timeline therapy. She's also a palm reader, so I am anxious to introduce you all to her today. Alanna, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely.
It's so fun how we can connect with new people all the time through Facebook and social media.
Yes, sometimes it's a little crazy, and other times, like now, I get to meet amazing women, and I'm so glad you agreed to come be a guest on the podcast today. I'd love to get started with a quick little bio. Tell everyone who you are, where you're coming from, and specifically how you've embraced this idea of starting again.
Yeah, so I feel like I've started again multiple times in my life, and I know we're probably going to get there. But I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I am a coach. My main modality of choice is hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming. And recently, actually, the palm reading is kind of new for me, but recently I started doing palm reading, and it's been such a fun and a really interesting way to kind of introduce my work to people
Sure.
who maybe haven't been thinking about coaching.
Right. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. So I basically specialize in helping people understand how to live a rich life. And when I say rich life, what I mean by that is weaving intimacy, which is like a deep connection with many facets of your life, primarily your relationships, like friendships, romantic relationships, your identity. So I do a lot of self image work with people, your career, your work, your purpose, your passion, and then also your health, your life force energy, what allows you to live and love your life. And so that's the bulk of my work, where I really help women understand how important all of those areas are and developing a connection.
I love it. I love it. And I'll tell you NLP because I'm going to use the abbreviation there because I don't think I could repeat the words you just said. But tell us a little bit about that because I think that's new to me and it probably is for my audience as well.
Yeah, so it's really neurolinguistic programming is really just like how you can influence yourself to create change at the subconscious level. So, it's really about upgrading your system. And some people that are listening, if they've been in the coaching space for a while, or, they've been watching stuff on Instagram,
Sure.
we're all programmed in our minds, our subconscious part of our mind, which is 95% of our mind. That's where like our beliefs, our feelings, our habits, our behaviors, our memories, that's where everything lives. And we really only use about 5% of our mind, which is our conscious mind, which is like right now I'm consciously aware that I'm talking to you, right? That I'm sitting on this seat, that I'm feeling a little bit cold because the air conditioning's on. But a lot of the way we move through our life is very subconscious. So it's helping you upgrade your operating system because, as I said, you're programmed at a very early age, between the ages of 0 and 7. And oftentimes we don't upgrade the system until we become aware of what's going on. So, if you're someone who's like can't get rid of the weight, has problems with sweets, is always procrastinating, right? These are programs that have been just running in the background for a long time until you can go in there and make this flip. You're just going to keep running that program.
Yeah, totally. Well,
Yeah.
that was a great description of something I
Thank you.
already knew and didn't know that there was a great term for it.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit more about the palm reading and how that started and how that's kind of integrating into your work.
Yeah, so just through, I feel like I've studied so many different modalities. I started off with hypnosis,
Mhm.
which then led me into neuro linguistic programming, which then led me into another coaching certification program. And I've met just lots of people along the way. And it just came to my attention that there was this palm reading certification available. And I thought, why not? I always feel like when something's presented to me, that it's an opportunity that I have to go
Oh, I love
and
that.
do,
Hmm.
right? If it feels aligned,
Sure.
obviously. So, and it was also being taught by someone who is a hypnotherapist and NLP trained. So I
Oh,
knew the
okay.
training was going to be really good.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I took the training and discovered that palm reading is so interesting
Hmm.
and that our life literally is in our hands. And you can tell so much about someone just from looking at the markings on their hands. And I kind of just put it out there. Even before I finished the certification, I just went on Instagram where I'm very active.
Hmm.
And I just said, I'm taking the certification. I'm going to offer 5 free sessions, 15-minute free sessions, just so that I can um, practice the skills that I'm learning because speed of implementation is so important.
Yep.
And it just kind of, snowballed from there. I was actually on Sunday, I was just at a psychic market reading palms
Oh,
in real
fun.
life. So that was also cool too. So yeah, it's like, it's not gonna represent everything that I do, but I think
Sure.
that it's just like a fun way to meet people. And, I always like to tell people too that you have to think outside of the box when you're marketing yourself as a coach.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Um, and so this is kind of like my fun fact,
I
when
love
you
it.
have like
Yeah.
a bio.
Now, are you doing this virtually or always in real life?
No, so I do everything through Zoom.
Oh, amazing.
Um, and after doing the Mystic Market, which was this psychic market that I was at, to be honest, I prefer doing it over Zoom
Oh, really?
because you send me pictures. So once you book with me, I ask you to send pictures. I read the fronts and the backs of the hands. So I instruct you on how to take the photos. You send
Uh-huh.
them to me. And then when we're on Zoom, I can share my screen with you and we can like zoom in and look at your lines and
Oh,
different
cool.
markings that are
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So it's kind of a nice, and I make it a big thing because I also read tarot cards and oracle cards
Uh-huh.
and, I create like an experience for you. So
Yeah. I love it. I
yeah,
love
it's
it.
really fun. So, when I think about the pivot, it's it's not really a pivot, it's more of like an extension
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
I see that.
to what I'm doing now.
Now, take me through a little bit of your story. I don't know if we hit on this so much, but like, were you always in this coaching business, or was this kind of your start again moment? Like, where where has your journey taken you?
Yeah. So I started off working in a public relations agency. And that was like I went to university, I got a business degree. I,
Yep.
wanted to become an event planner.
Hmm.
And I got to, my first job where I'm like in this cool PR agency. And I was just like, oh, is this it? you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
I remember on my first day just being like, is this really what I've been working towards? Anyway, I lasted in that corporate world for 10 years.
Hmm.
And then I was just not happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's more
Yeah.
for me in this life. And at that time, I was having my second child. I have 2 boys.
Hmm.
They're 9 and 12 now. And I went on mat leave and I just never came back to
Hmm.
my corporate role.
I have to
Um,
say, I've always been a little jealous. When I had my fourth child, I was working in corporate America as well. And I had some Canadian coworkers, and you guys get so much time off. It is amazing.
yeah, we get a full
Yeah,
year.
a full year
Yeah,
and
paid.
paid time off. And I mean, it's kind of ridiculous what we do here in America. Like, We at most can have 12 weeks, which is,
Yeah,
well, and
which
I
is
will say some
so little
companies,
time.
it's so little time. There's still so little when you're going back to work. So that's incredible that you have a year. And so you decided not to go back.
Yeah, I decided not to go back. So on my mat leave, because I already had one mat leave where I was
Hmm.
like off and I was doing parks and
Hmm.
doing mums
Hmm.
groups and all that stuff. I was like, okay, this mat leave, I want to start a business. So
Oh,
I started a online fabric store,
oh, cool.
and I was selling premium quality quilting cottons. It was a very niche industry,
Hmm.
and it was actually a model that I copied from an American,
Hmm.
because buying fabric online is a big industry in the
Hmm.
US, but at the time it wasn't in Canada.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of just like modeled another company and brought it to Canada. I brought like the first fabric subscription club to Canada.
Oh, wow.
So
I
I had
sew
this
as a
fabric.
hobby, so I'm familiar with
Oh, do you?
everything. Yes, everything that you're talking about. I
Yeah.
haven't quilted yet, but it's on my list. It's on my bucket list.
Yeah. So I just kind of dove headfirst into having this online fabric store, and it, like I just had so much fun with it, and it gave me the flexibility to be at home and
Hmm.
not have to put both kids in daycare.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just kind of took off for me, and I built that business up and had it for 8 years. And I decided to sell it actually this month 2 years ago.
Oh,
So
wow.
June 2022, I guess, or
Hmm.
2021. I can't
Well,
remember now.
happy anniversary.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I did the fabric thing for quite some time. But because of the way I moved into having my online store, a lot of people were interested in kind of like how I did that. So I
Hmm.
would get a lot because I was very active on social media and I had a big community of
Hmm.
people. And I was very transparent too, about what I was doing. So people would just randomly email me and be like, "How did you do this? Like, how
Hmm.
did you quit your job and start this business? And
Yeah. Yeah.
can you help me? I want to do the same thing." So I was sort of dabbling a little bit with coaching, but
Hmm.
not really. And then I just decided, well, my dad ended up getting sick with
Mm.
cancer, and and then subsequently passed, like, within a
Hmm.
9-month period. It was very quick, and I kinda just had, like, one of these moments that was like, "Do I really wanna be selling fabric for the rest of my life?"
Hmm.
Because I just
This
had,
is
like, a
this is a very
reality check.
common um, trend I've seen with a lot of people. The loss of a loved one springboards them into, wait a second, is this really what I want to be doing with my life? A good friend of mine actually just retired because her father passed away. It's a
Mm,
very pivotal life event.
it is
Hmm.
major. I'm
Hmm.
getting, like, goosebumps right now just thinking about
Hmm.
it. But, yeah, it's very pivotal. And, once I decided that that's sort of the route I wanted to take, all these things started to present themselves to me,
Hmm.
and I ended up meeting, Ryan, who's my podcast co-host,
Hmm.
and he is a, um, trainer of NLP and hypnosis,
Oh,
and
cool.
so I ended up just being like, "You know what? Maybe I had experienced hypnotherapy, um, many years before, and I was like, "Maybe I'll do that." Because, like, what I was finding with a lot of the women I was working with who were wanting to start a business and wanting to,
Hmm.
put themselves out on social media, I was running up against was fear.
Oh,
You
totally.
know, I
Yes.
I could tell them, "Oh, do this, do that,"
Hmm.
but they were like, "Oh, I can't go on camera, I can't do
Yeah.
this," and I didn't really know how to coach people through that, and
Hmm.
so I thought, "Oh, maybe if I do hypnotherapy, that's gonna help,"
Hmm.
and, yeah, I kind of dove into that, and then I didn't really turn back.
Hmm.
Like, I was sort of straddling the fabric world and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
coaching world, and then I was like, "You know what? I gotta sell
Something's got to
this
go.
business so that I can put all my energy into doing what I really wanna be doing," which is helping people,
Yeah.
overcome challenges, overcome bad habits, overcome fears and objections.
Yeah. Well, that's really
So,
the key, overcoming fears to do what you really want to do, which
yeah.
is incredible. Life changing.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is life-changing. It really is. Like, hypnosis for me has completely changed my life.
Yeah. So when you look back at your story, what inspires you most about it?
Well, I think, I look at everything that I've kind of been through, and I just love seeing the growth, right? I
Mhm.
love just seeing the fact that I've been climbing this mountain and there is no finish line. I really believe
Yes.
that there is no finish line. We're just constantly growing and evolving and learning and reaching the next thing that, you know what I mean, that's pushing
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
And I'm really proud of like how resilient I've been, in all of
Oh,
these
yes.
areas that I've worked through, right? Because I spent kind of like a decade in the corporate world, then I spent a decade doing retail, building a website, building a community,
Yeah.
um, going through all the trials and tribulations of just having your own business. And I experienced debt. I experienced
Yep.
all the things that come with having a business and then coming back from that
Yep.
and then tearing it all down and being like, you know what, I had this fabric store but now I'm turning and doing hypnosis. Like, when I think back, it's like it takes a lot of guts to just be
For
like, this is what I'm
sure.
doing now,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, to do something vastly different than what you were doing
Yeah.
before. Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
I have found on the outside, sometimes it looks crazy to other people. And
Yep.
what's interesting is, I don't actually think that because I've made a lot of what look like crazy choices personally in my own life. And I think the reason it looks crazy to other people is because it scares them.
Totally. It's a projection,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
People projecting their own fears, their own,
100%.
subconscious blocks onto you. And
Yes.
when you go first, right, which, I seem to be doing, and especially when it comes to kind of like my immediate family
Yes.
and stuff like that, like, yeah, definitely. There's no question that a lot of people think that I'm crazy.
Yeah. But
And
yes.
I'm completely having like a midlife crisis,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now she's reading poems. What's going on here? But it's for me, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm living my life,
Yeah.
right? Like this is the whole point. We have
It
one
is the
life.
whole point.
So why not learn
Why?
these things? Yeah.
So I love how life kind of takes us from one thing to the next thing, and we kind of are just gradually building upon a skill set and growing and evolving, and along the way learning lessons. And when I look back
Yeah.
at kind of all the lessons that I've learned, I start to sense themes and patterns. So when you look back on your journey, what do you think is the common theme in your lessons?
Yeah, the common theme is probably just like there is no failure,
Hmm.
there's only feedback. And everything that I've gone through, like, I've failed. I was not a great employee and
Yeah.
I thought there was something wrong with me.
Oh,
But what I
yes.
learned was that wasn't where I was supposed to be. And
Right.
so, it was good feedback for me. And I'm glad I took the feedback when I did and got out, because if
Yeah.
not, I might still be there and absolutely just hating my life. I don't know. Right. And
Yeah.
then
Likely.
when it came, yeah, probably. And then when it came to my fabric store, uh, I had a real hard time like managing the flow of income,
Hmm.
right? And like buying inventory, and like there were so many lessons that I learned. And then, then you're buying Facebook ads and you're
Yeah.
buying this thing, and like all these shiny objects are coming
Yes.
at you, right?
Oh my gosh, the shiny objects right now. If I'm the same applies if you're a coach, let me just say.
100%. Yeah. But, I learned so many lessons that I can now apply to my coaching business just from having my online store.
Yeah.
Um, and then even now, right? Like, how many times have I pivoted my niche, changed my niche, decided,
Hmm.
oh, I'm going to do this now. Oh,
Hmm.
I'm going to actually focus on this now, right? But it's all in the learning. It's all, there's never been a moment where I'm like, I'm such a failure. It's just always been feedback for me. And
I
I
love
just
that.
know that it's always leading me to something more, something better, something.
Yes. Well, and I think that ability to pivot, I did a recent episode on this. Like when it's not working, and And it's not always failure that it's not working. It's just, it could be that you change your mind and it's not lighting you up
Yeah.
anymore, or it's
Yeah.
whatever the feedback is that's leaving you less than 100% happy. Like, that's your opportunity to say, oh, maybe it's time to pivot. I love that you were able to do that, recognize it, one, but also take action and do it. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
do that.
No, they don't. And I think partly it's because people don't know how to make decisions,
Oh,
right? Like
yes.
if you want to be if you want to have a powerful life or you want to live a rich life, you need to be good at making decisions. And
Yeah.
that means like saying yes or saying no or saying it's not for me right now or this isn't working and I need to shift. Because once you make the decision, then the action follows. But if you're just sitting on the fence your entire life,
You're
nothing
just in
happens.
limbo. Yeah. Well, and I
Yeah,
always, I like to remind people, just because you choose yes today doesn't mean you can't change your mind and choose no tomorrow. Like, say yes to the
exactly.
job, see how it goes. If you don't like it,
Yeah,
you're not stuck. You're never stuck. You always get to
yeah,
choose again.
yeah, you do. And, that's a muscle that you really need to
Yes.
strengthen because, many of us are taught that, many of us have been brought up in this world where it's like, you go to school,
Hmm.
you get your degree, you get your job, you do the job, and then you retire. And
Yes.
then that's when your life
And then
begins.
you get to go do fun things. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas I have never been interested in that model.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a choice at the end of the day. You can choose to follow the program or you can choose to be like, you know what, I'm going to do it different. And that does take courage,
It does.
right?
And I think
It does take making a choice.
the muscle builds through experience. So the more you do it and the more you gain confidence along the way once you've been able to make a
Big time.
choice. And if it doesn't work out, you realize you didn't die. Everything's fine. You can still choose again. I think it builds your confidence
Yep.
along the way. But
Yeah.
the young us, we don't know that at the time. So I feel like the
No.
younger versions of us, we're still waiting to figure that out. So if you were to look back at the younger you, what advice would you give her?
I would just say be patient.
Mm,
You have a lot of time. Um, and it's all going to work out.
hmm
It's all gonna work out. And I remember my dad saying that to me
hmm
and me rolling my eyes when
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
in my 20s and being like, "But I want it now."
yeah. We're so impatient when we're young. I mean, I'm also still quite impatient. I'm like, this is still a skill that I am
Oh,
honing.
yeah. Same, same.
Because we live in this world, we want immediate gratification, and we want to know how it's going to work out and what we're supposed to do, as if there is a perfect right answer.
Mhm.
And a lot of times
Yeah.
there's not. It's just to
There
give it a shot and see how it goes.
it's so true. Yeah. So I think for me, it's been a lifelong lesson of just, like, patience and also just learning how to let go
Yes.
too, right?
This
And
is a
just being
theme
like
in my previous conversations, I will say, this letting go. It's a hard
mhm,
one for, I think, especially women,
so hard.
to let go of
Mhm.
control. I see this over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah. But you know what I've really witnessed is the more that I've been able to, lean into that,
Hmm.
especially I wanna say over the last 4 to 5 years, I've seen so much growth in my children
Mm,
because, as a parent or, like, as a mom, you're just like, you just want the best for your
for
kids. That's
sure.
all you want for
Yeah.
them, and so it's so hard to let go of that control because you're
Mhm.
like, "I know best. Why don't you go do this? Why don't you go do that?" But once you let them tap into their own intuition
Oh my gosh,
and their
that's the
own
magic.
wants and needs, like, they just develop so much more trust in themselves,
Hmm.
and you can just really see them start to flourish and it's just really a beautiful thing, and that's been, like, a big sort of lesson for me over the last 4 or 5 years, just seeing how me letting go allows them to just skyrocket. And, of
Yeah.
course, you're still guiding them. You're still
Yeah.
their parent,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I So my oldest is 29, my youngest is 10, so I've been parenting for a long time, and I like to refer to it like the bumpers when you go bowling. Like, you get
Yeah,
to a
that's a
certain
great
point
yep.
where you take the bumpers off and their guardrails are moving and you're still there if they, hit a gutter ball or whatever, and you can still guide them and kind of help them to stand back up.
Yeah,
But I think the coming back from failure, and I say failure, but like in quotations, taking that feedback, as you put it, is so crucial for them to learn that they can do it
yeah.
early on before, like, I've seen a lot of my older daughter's friends, the first time they were truly failing on their own was in college, and they didn't know how
Mm.
to handle it. And so being
Yeah,
able
they don't
to
have the tools.
be there and kind of guide them through that is really helpful, I think, as a parent.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like, if so we talked about younger you, and then we look forward to future version of you and where you go from now, like from here. What do
Mm.
you now believe is possible for your life?
Oh, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually entering a really exciting season of my work because, I've been, predominantly doing a lot of work online
Hmm.
and, like, one-to-one coaching on Zoom, and recently I've decided to start hosting retreats,
Hmm.
and, so, yeah, like, I just feel like so much is gonna expand for me in the next year because I'm planning a retreat for November, and, just I think that there's so much power in bringing a group of women together
Totally.
and, working on yourself and, holding that space for people to just, like, explore and discover and, guide them on their path. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Those close knit groups where it's intimate, feel safe, right? But I think there's
Yeah.
such power for women. I just think we live in this society where we are programmed to think we have to do it all on our own. And the truth of the matter
Mhm.
is, we're not meant to do it on our own. We're never
No.
actually alone. But there's such power in, oh, wait, you get this? Building that community of people who get where you are, understand what you're struggling with, maybe giving you the example of what it looks like when you push through. Like, that is beautiful work to be able to do that in those close little spaces.
Yeah, I agree. It's very empowering and just like I know that's such a buzzword, empowering, but it is. It's just
It
nice to
is
know that you're not alone. It's nice to know that what you're thinking, other women are thinking, or
100%.
how you're feeling, or maybe something that you're going through in your relationship. Like other people are going through it too. And it's just like so validating and
Yes,
just makes you feel like, okay, like I'm good then. We're good.
absolutely. Yeah. 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 Well, I am certain that even though the majority of my audience is in America, I do have some listeners in Australia and Canada, but I'm sure people
Mm,
would like to find you and engage with you. So, how can they find you?
yeah. For sure. You can follow me on Instagram at Alanna Banks Coaching. I'm very active there. And my website is alannabanks.com. And as I said, I have a podcast that I co host, and we predominantly talk about coaching um, and just give lots of fun. We have just lots of fun conversations about that. And that's
Hmm.
called the No Excuses Coaching Podcast with Ryan Montes and Alanna Banks. And then I have another podcast, I'm using air quotes, but it's really a podcast that is just me, and that's like an archive of a lot of my hypnotic meditations.
Oh, okay.
So you can go there and listen to, meditations on getting calm or, finding a message from your heart
I
or,
love it.
things like that. And that's called Cracked Open with Alanna Banks.
I love it. Well, I will definitely include all of those links in the show notes. But
Perfect.
I cannot say thank you enough for joining me today. It was a pleasure to meet you, and I appreciate you spending time with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I love these, like, these interesting ways we meet people
Yeah,
on on social media.
I love it.
Um, Yeah. And if you want to book a palm reading with me,
Oh,
just send me a
yes.
message on Instagram. That's the best place because it's a new offering. I don't have anything on my website. So if that's something like, "Ooh, I want to do that," just
Yes.
send me a direct message.
Perfect. I'm sure you'll get some requests.
Yeah.
So, whether you want to write a book, start a new business, or just put one foot in front of the other after divorce, the very first step you must take is to find your center, to align with who you really are. The way to do that is to find your very own perfect balance between body, mind, and spirit. Are you ready to figure that out for yourself? Pop on over to shaunalee.com/align to gain access to my signature program. In just 45 minutes, you'll learn all you need to know to create your own plan to find your center. Align is the program name. Find it under services at shaunalee.com.